Cruising is not my thing, and I'm sorry, but I moan a lot in this video.
Right, let's talk about this cruise.
Welcome back to the channel. This time it's going to be something completely different. It's our 40th wedding anniversary and Carol didn't want any cooking or washing up. Ideally, she wanted to visit new places, lay in the sun and read her book. And I just wanted some really nice food, so a cruise seemed the perfect option. Now, cruising isn't really my thing, but we didn't want to fly and catch any bugs, and I could always keep myself busy by doing a bit of editing here and there. So we opted for an 18-night cruise on the P&O Arcadia, as it was the only cruise going at that time that meant that we could celebrate our anniversary during the cruise.
So I did some research, what cruises are there around the date of our wedding anniversary. And we wanted to try P&O because they'd been recommended by several people.
One of my mates.
We knew they did the black tie nights, but you didn't have to dress up if you didn't want to, so that was okay for us. I wasn't sure how you were going to survive 18 nights on a cruise.
And I wonder how that turned out. Keep watching to find out.
It's 2 o'clock on Monday, May the 12th, 2025, and we're nearly at Southampton Port, where we're going to be boarding P&O's Arcadia. We chose to leave our car with P&O, and we're just arriving at the drop-off point. Photographing the car all around for damage. We were very impressed with the drop-off procedure. You just pull up, they photograph your car, you take your bags on a trolley to the drop-off point. Job's done. Getting on board is also simple and quick. It's like an airline check-in, but they've got lots of staff to make it simple. Our cruise cards were waiting for us outside the room. We went for a balcony cabin as we wanted to be able to sit outside and also get a view of the horizon if necessary.
I have to say, check-in was exceptionally fast and good. Absolutely brilliant, the staff.
Undo the belt and open the jacket, including any safety poppers.
The safety briefing was delivered via the in-room TV. The only other thing we had to do was report to our muster station and have our cruise cards scanned. Well, I better not play any more of that, otherwise I'll get a copyright strike. But obviously it was then straight up onto the deck for the sail away. It was a bit noisy at the back of the ship, so we got a couple of large gin and tonics and found a sunny little spot to sit down and watch us sail out.
The most important thing I was looking forward to was good food, speciality restaurants, and really enjoying ourselves.
And a lot of choice of food.
Yeah, a lot of choice, and that's what tempted me onto the ship.
Before dinner, Carol tried a cocktail and I went for a beer. Dinner the first night was in the Meridian restaurant, where the food is included.
The main restaurant is the Meridian restaurant, where we had the choice. You could either book a set time where you had a table guaranteed every day, or you could just do the free-form dining where you just turn up on the day anytime you like, but you might have to queue for a table. So when I rang up and made the actual booking, she said, "Did you want to book a table?" And I said, "Only if we could have a table for two, that'd be great." So she said she'd put that in the booking, table for two.
Don't believe them. We were sat on a table for 6.
Another couple of ladies were shown to our table as well, and they'd also booked a table for 2.
Yeah.
I went for the roast beef and Carol went for the sea bass. The ship was heading for the Bay of Biscay, so fingers crossed the weather will be kind to us. And we've got 18 days to get used to the layout of this ship. Morning, folks. We survived the first night and very peaceful it was too.
What about the accommodation.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the cabin. I was really happy with the cabin. It was nice and roomy because we had the extra settee as well as the bed to sit on, so plenty of space. And the balcony was a nice size and it had 2 reclining chairs.
Slight disappointment when you got in there and found you didn't have your promised robe and slippers. First, we asked our steward.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, but that's a mistake, that you don't get them in this cabin."
So we went to reception.
Massive queue of people looking for robes and slippers.
And other things. And he said the same thing.
Yeah, it's a mistake. In the end, we did get them, didn't we? Whether that was because they actually wanted to do that or because I tipped the steward as soon as we got on board, didn't I?
Yeah.
Gave her a little tip. $20, I think, 20 euros.
Yeah.
But later that night at dinner, we were talking to the 2 ladies.
They were expecting robe and slippers as well.
Yeah, and they'd been to reception and been given the brush off, hadn't they?
Yeah, so we said, well,
we
said we got them.
We got them. Go and tell reception that we've got them and you want them. And they did, and they got them.
And they did get them.
Yeah.
First breakfast.
You're at the back of the ship, Bunny.
I know, right at the back. Look how we're motoring along.
So what do you think of it so far?
Very good so far. No complaints. Plenty to eat, plenty to drink. Beautiful weather.
We played this game with Getaway Geese and they absolutely smashed us. That was when we met up with them. They're not on board. Well, the sun might be shining, but they've still got the cover on the indoor swimming pool.
There was another restaurant during the day at the Neptune. It sounded really nice. It said there'd be a grill there serving up burgers, hot dogs and pizza during the day. There was no pizza.
Never saw a pizza, did we, on the whole blooming trip?
No, so that obviously referred to some other ship.
Some other ship, yeah.
And then they did burgers and hot dogs, which were nice. But
they were tasty.
They were tasty.
Yeah.
But you had to get there at the right time because it got very, very busy.
When you're at sea, there's generally 2 or 3 lectures every day. But this one was just trying to sell you more cruises. So we weren't particularly interested in this one. Many years ago, we did a couple of Caribbean cruises, but to be honest with you, we didn't enjoy them that much. So we're going to see how we get on with this one before we consider booking any more. Every now and then they do a pop-up restaurant, and this one was tapas. You have to pay extra, so we thought we'd give it a try. But we have to be honest, this was not that tasty, so we gave the rest a miss. Tonight we're trying the Indian restaurant.
Tamarind salmon curry, saffron chicken korma, or the mixture. The signature plate sounds nice. Lamb Rogan Josh.
Now, some of you might know I enjoy a nice curry, so I've been looking forward to this. I tried the signature cocktail. They're posh little poppadoms, aren't they?
So this is the tamarind sour sauce. They're nice, aren't they?
Carol went for the salmon, I went for the chicken tikka, and it was all very tasty. But the absolute star of the show was the pudding. This lovely Indian bread and butter pudding.
Okay, let's talk about the entertainment.
Every night you've got a different show. You've got the Onboard theatre group who are absolutely excellent and various guest performers during the cruise. But obviously I'm not allowed to show you them.
That was the best thing of the cruise, wasn't it?
And a lot of people who we were talking to who'd been on P&O cruises before said that this was the best headliners troupe that they'd seen.
Headliners is their own set of performers.
Like their theatre company.
Yeah, the main theatre company, yeah.
And the variety of shows they did was excellent, you know.
One thing that always surprised me was I thought many of their shows were worthy of standing ovations.
Yes.
And yet nobody was getting up, were they?
No, very few standing ovations.
Very few.
Which was a shame.
They're shame because they really deserved it.
Yeah.
It's 7:30 on the 15th of May and the ship has arrived in Lisbon, Portugal. Arcadia is quite an old ship now. It was launched in 2004 and is an adults-only cruise. We've opted for a morning tour of the city by tuk-tuk. Now the sound's not going to be too great, folks, because we're not wearing microphones. We don't want to draw attention to ourselves. That patch behind my ear is for seasickness. Charlie wants a blanket.
Okay.
Well, you never know. It's
No,
nice
you don't.
when you're in the sun,
Yeah.
sitting still, but when we're going along, there'll be a bit of a breeze as well.
Too righty.
Okay, let's talk about the trips. What do you think of Lisbon?
Well, I had started planning our own trips because I know you like doing your own thing, so that we could go at our own pace, see what we wanted to see. But then we got cold feet, thinking, well, there's the risk if you don't get back to the ship. That
We had a bad experience with that in the Caribbean, didn't we?
Yes.
We did our own thing, stupidly went with a local company for a driving tour of some island.
Antigua.
And the bloke drove like an absolute maniac, didn't he? There were no seat belts in the damn car.
Yeah.
They didn't work.
Yeah.
And
there's always the worry you're not going to get back to the ship in time.
yeah.
Now I think this is my first time on a tuk-tuk, but Carol has been on them before when we were in India. These ones are electric.
So were you awake when you came under the bridge this morning?
I don't think so.
See it from our room anyway.
So you missed the sights.
They've got a bridge here that's very similar to the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. It's built from the same steel and by the same designer. Now the tuk-tuk ride is quite fun, but one of the difficulties is it's very difficult to see upwards. So whenever I want an upward shot, I've got to lean out and point the camera up.
You know why? This was one of the ways they found in the past. So, main street, 6 sides. Side street, 4 sides on.
Being electric makes quite a difference. Imagine the noise if these were all 2-stroke engines.
So, we are now leaving the eastern side of downtown and getting in the old town area. Ahead, on the left, we're going to see St. Anthony's Church. He is the popular saint that we celebrate here throughout the whole month of June. And among many things, he's also the wedding saint.
Every year they hold mass weddings, and it's designed to help poorer families afford the cost of a nice
But
wedding.
we are standing here before a site with like 2,000 years of history. This was initially a Roman temple. This white building on the left is now a museum, Resistance and Freedom, but this was before a prison for political prisoners. This is where Salazar locked up and tortured all those who were against the fascist regime.
Yeah.
Generically called beautiful shade. And this one is already 330 years old. It was already here before the earthquake. This is the Sungate Square that we are just about to cross now. The dome of the National Pantheon on the right. And our king was afraid the Moors could attack St. Vincent relics on their way to Lisbon. Here around the corner, we're going to see the oldest house in the city. That little one, oh, the car is right in front of it.
Yeah.
It's even more pretty when the clothes are hanging outside for drying.
Yeah.
The first stop is at the highest point in Lisbon, which offers a commanding view of the bridge and the port area.
In Lisbon, we used to make jokes about those who were living on the other side.
Yeah.
And they were also now forced to move to the outskirts or to the other side.
Yeah. This used to be called the Salazar Bridge, but after the revolution they changed it to April the 25th. That was in 1974 and it was largely peaceful. Opposite us is São Jorge Castle, and that hill has been occupied since the 8th century. Yeah, fine. Brilliant. The first trams were horse-drawn and they started in 1873. These ones date from 1930.
None of it resisted the earthquake. This was all rebuilt after the earthquake. And you see the banner there? We call this church São Vicente de Fora. Can you read it?
Yeah.
De Fora. De Fora means outside.
I wouldn't fancy bringing Snoopy down here. I think Little Red would have been all right, though.
Postbox.
And in the center of the square, we're going to see the statue of King John I. You can see the Augusta Arch at the end of it. Lisbon was also a Roman city. It's officially called Peter IV, but nobody calls this square Peter IV. Everyone calls this square Rocio Square.
We had the best tasting experiences in Lisbon. We went to the pastel de nata shop.
We quickly learned that every trip has a cafe stop and a sales stop. And it was this tour that we had the best of both. They went downhill after this. Bon appetit. Bomb, just bomb instead of bon, yeah. Delish, aren't they?
Would be nice to have a coffee with them as well.
Yeah, it would be. These are jacaranda trees with the most beautiful purple flowers. On the next stop, we were taken back to the garage where the tuk-tuks are kept. And then we were taken to a wine shop for the sales pitch. We were given some Portuguese sweet wine, and I have to say it was absolutely delicious. So we bought a bottle for €12. This turned out to be the only sales stop on the whole trip that I didn't begrudge. I was not impressed with the rest. Hit and miss.
Yeah.
It was one hit, the rest were definite misses.
And look at these two pillars on the right. Now it's low tide. We can even see the stone stairway that goes between them in the water. This has always been the noble entrance in Lisbon in the past. Now, many heads of state and prestigious people from all over the world disembarked here, including the deceased Queen Elizabeth II.
Yes.
She disembarked here on a state visit to Lisbon in 1957.
The next day was spent at sea, and we spent some time walking around deck 3. So 3 laps of this deck is a mile. Our next port of call is going to be Alicante in Spain, and the coastline looks very hazy. The weather is good though, and Carol's a sun bunny, so she was in her element. We've got a whale off the port side. Every now and then you could see it blow, but unfortunately I didn't have a better lens.
Right, Alicante. We had our guide there was an archaeologist. So she obviously knew her stuff and she was going to tell you it.
Whether you wanted it or not.
So it was all a bit too much for you.
Yeah. Hello, Alicante. Morning.
Okay, so did they tell you anything about the city at all? No. It's nothing, like the history, so I can make up a few things now. Now we're driving through the main avenue in Alicante, this beautiful promenade that you see on the right side of the coast.
Some more of those beautiful trees here.
Oh, welcome to Santa Fe.
The first thing they took us to see was a church. I have to admit though that I'm not a great fan of guided tours. She took us to a church.
Yeah, it was in Santa Fe, and it was a pilgrimage site where every Easter they walk all the way from the centre of Alicante to this church. It's about 8 kilometres. Right. Because it houses part of Veronica's veil, which is like the Turin shroud, basically, that has the imprint of the face of Jesus on it.
If I had a bit more patience, I'd know these things myself. This tower used to be there to protect the inhabitants of the village against marauding pirates who would kidnap them and sell them into slavery. Next stop
was an archaeological site. Apparently our guide used to work here, and she decided she was going to show us around in chronological order, and this meant crisscrossing the site. It was pretty hot and there was no shade.
They're all still stood out there in the blazing sun, and I've found myself a nice quiet little corner under a tree. Interesting to see how they irrigate the trees.
This part of the tour went on, and at one point they all disappeared over the top of the hill. I just kept my fingers crossed that they had to come out the same way they went in. Alicante has been inhabited for over 7,000 years, with early settlements by the Iberians, Greeks, Phoenicians and Carthaginians.
So we'll be walking a little bit ahead until the zebra crossing over there.
It's been a while since I've had to follow a magazine in the air. The local dialect here is Valencian, which is a variant of Catalan. We're now on our way to the obligatory drink refreshment stop, and this time it's going to be a sort of milkshake. This is horchata, which is made from tiger nuts and sugar.
Incredibly sweet.
I do feel sorry for the guides at times because they've got to keep this up all the way around. Now the next stop was interesting. Every year Alicante hosts a spectacular festival called the Hogueras de San Juan, the bonfires of St. John. This is where large elaborate effigies known as hogueras are paraded through the streets and then ceremonially burned. Now that would be worth seeing.
She took us all through the little streets where all the restaurants were out, all the tables and chairs and people were eating. And she stopped in front of a tapas bar and was explaining. And I thought, oh, any minute now we're going to get a little taster of tapas or something. But we didn't.
It's another day and another dollar, and this morning we're in Barcelona.
If it's too warm, please let me know. If it's too cold, also.
We'd been to Barcelona before, but we hadn't seen the Sagrada Familia, Gaudí's church. So that was a must-see for me. And the good thing was we went early in the morning, so we were there by 9 o'clock in the morning, so it was nice and quiet.
Barcelona is home to 9 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, most of which are the work of the legendary architect Antoni Gaudí, including the Sagrada Familia. He worked on it exclusively from 1914 until his death in 1926. It's more than 140 years since construction began, but the Sagrada remains unfinished. The main structure is projected to be completed in 2026, which marks the centenary since Gaudí's death. The next place we saw was the Casa Milà. This was a private family home, with other apartments being rented out. This one was built by Gaudí between 1906 and 1912. It's renowned for its undulating stone facade and wrought iron balconies, reflecting Gaudí's signature organic style. Unfortunately, our tour didn't allow us to go inside any of these Gaudí properties.
Couldn't go in, could we?
No, it wasn't open then.
No.
And plus the tour that took you inside was fully booked even before, I booked the tours months before the cruise, but it was sold out.
Next, we were taken to a museum, but this one's different because it's a museum of buildings taken from various places in Spain, very similar to the Wealden Downland Museum in Sussex, but on a grander scale. We didn't get to go in any of the buildings, so it was just a quick walk round. Everything's being prepared for lunch, and there was a good view across Barcelona. 2 days later, he saw us arrive in Civitavecchia in Italy, where we were going to see Tarquinia by trolley train. By this time, there was quite a bit of illness on the cruise, with lots of people coughing and sneezing. There was a point that did cheer me up though, where the trolley train tried to go up a steep hill.
Everybody get off and push.
Oh, the smell of burning rubber.
I'm sure it's not normally like that, and the slipping was caused by a little fall of rain. The trolley tour was similar in ways to the tuk-tuk ride, where the visibility was limited by the canopy getting in the way. The viewpoint was definitely worth it though.
This part of the city wall, so 10th century after Christ.
So from my point of view, I definitely give the trolley train a miss in Tarquinia.
So what do you think of the trolley train?
Well, it was just meant to be a bit of fun because we didn't want to go to Rome because that would have been a long coach journey, a long day in Rome and then a long coach journey back. And we'd been to Rome before anyway for 4 days, so we'd seen a lot of Rome.
We made up for it though with a lovely meal in the Ocean Grill that evening.
Olbia.
Now, this was our favourite
Sardinia. Olbia is the port for Sardinia.
Yeah.
So what did you make of it?
Well, I was excited because we haven't been to Sardinia before. So I was looking forward to that, to see what Sardinia had to offer. And straight away, the drive out of the port to where we were going, it all looked very beautiful and unspoilt.
Yeah.
It's the 21st of May and we're now in the port of Olbia, which is in Sardinia. So that's how they tie up the boat.
In the Mediterranean Sea, the largest one is Sicily.
This morning's tour is called Ancient and Modern.
Sardinia is the 5th largest island in the Mediterranean Sea.
Now we've come to see how people used to live here many thousands of years ago. I bet it wasn't so crowded back then.
Here we are in the second and third phase, because this civilization started in the 1800 more or less BC and ended.
This cat's heard it all before. Sadly, it resisted all my attempts to charm it. We've come to see the Nuraghi, which are stone towers, and there are literally thousands of these across the island. Charlie Brown's in her element here. These towers are only found in Sardinia, and they were built during the Bronze Age, mainly between 1600 and 1200 years before Christ. They were built without using any mortar, using massively roughly worked stones, some weighing several tons, carefully stacked to form towers that could reach heights over 20 metres. And they're all secured by tiny little stones.
Have a look here first to see the tower there. There was another tower there.
Some prehistoric site where they have the Nuraghi, which are like towers, which were built thousands of years BC. I can't believe how old
we got stuck in a traffic jam there, didn't we, of old folk?
Oh gosh, yeah.
We had we were looking at the Nuraghi, and our group, came out of this tower, turned left and came to a grinding halt, and the guide had walked out. He'd gone out the way we came in, and we just stood there for about 3 minutes, And then, so I was getting fed up when I said to the person in front, "Oh, come on, we all want to come through there." And they said, we're trapped. It's a dead end. And they just stood there, these people. I'm talking about 10 or 15.
Yeah.
Just stood
They'd
there.
just gone round the corner to a dead end and were waiting for
the guide to come
back.
My goodness
well, it was obvious
me.
you couldn't get through that way, so they were going to have to come
Yeah,
out.
so I said, well, come out then.
And then
the guide, then you could hear the guide saying, "Are you coming, you lot?"
Come through this way. Yeah.
Now, I must admit, I didn't like it in here one little bit. All I could think of is, what if the blooming thing collapses? What a stupid thought, seeing it stood for thousands of years. They're built in a truncated cone shape with a central chamber and internal staircases, and they sometimes have multiple superimposed chambers. It gets rather cosy once you've got a coach load of people inside, and if that's not enough, you've got more coach loads waiting to join us.
There is no light, and inside live a colony of bats, but the smaller we have in Europe.
Now that freaked a few people out. The original function of Nuraghi remains uncertain. Theories include use as a fortress, dwellings, religious centres, food stores, or astronomical observatories. Now the next place they took us to perplexed quite a lot of people, including us. In the brochure it said we were going to a town, so we thought we were going to get a little bit of shopping. Turns out they brought us to see where the rich people live.
You have to change your way of walking. Okay, you have to walk in this way. Wave even if you don't know anybody.
Now we've all seen these shops before, haven't we? Where they charge you an absolute fortune. So this place is Porto Cervo, created in the 1960s by Prince Karim Aga Khan IV, who captivated the natural beauty of the area and transformed it. This exclusive resort town on the northeast coast of Sardinia is widely recognised as the capital of the Costa Esmeralda. There are several cafes, but this was the cheapest, so everybody piled in. Now, without doubt, it is very beautiful, but it's a bit strange that you're not allowed to swim here. I imagine they're not too keen on seeing me in my boxer shorts. Bit of a letdown really, because Charlie Brown was looking forward to doing a little bit of shopping. We just wanted some mementos, and there were none to be found here, to be honest. If you've got a yacht, then it must be absolutely lovely to be able to park up here. Doesn't really matter how much money you've got though, because there's always someone who's got more and a bigger one than yours.
So the tour was the ancient and modern. So that was the ancient part. And then they were going to take us to the modern part, which was like a billionaire's playground.
Well, we thought we were going for a bit of shopping, didn't we?
Yeah.
In the town.
We thought it would be, a nice,
a normal town.
You know, like when you go to Marbella and like Benalmádena in Spain, like, a town
Lovely
where there'd be shops and restaurants and you could just wander around.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was like a purpose-built tourist trap.
It was built by the Aga Khan, I believe.
That was it?
Yeah, so you can tell straight away what it's going to be like. Super exclusive.
Every shop was a designer shop.
Yeah.
So there weren't any shops that we would shop in. But then luckily there was a cafe that was reasonable prices.
There was no luck about it.
It was the only one.
You're taken there and they know you're going to end up in that cafe.
Yeah, because it was the only one.
The only one that normal people would be able to afford to buy something.
He did say not to go to the one on the upper level because that was more expensive. He did say to go to the one down below, and then that is where our guide ended up having a coffee as well. So
it's strange that.
We're on our way to Morocco now. We're going to visit Casablanca. Looks a bit stormy, but luckily up ahead it looks nice and clear.
What did you think of Casablanca then?
Well, I'm glad I've been. Morocco's a new country for us, so that was interesting. I was surprised how modern it was, and becoming more and more westernised.
Yeah,
as well.
very laid back for a Muslim country.
For an Islamic country, yes.
I was quite surprised that when we went to the mosque and you put your cover on, didn't you?
Yeah, when we went to the mosque, so I made sure I had longish trousers to cover my knees and I had a T-shirt covering my shoulders, and then I took a scarf to put over my head to go into the mosque. But the guide said, no need, because you're tourists, you don't have to worry.
Bit of a long walk to the coaches this morning. Now this looks an old ship. This one's crewed by pigeons by the looks of it. I wish we had Snoopy and then we could do what we please. Casablanca is the largest city in Morocco, with a population exceeding 3.2 million people. It's our first time here, so we have no idea what to expect. Now, I suppose we all know about Rick's Cafe, made famous in the film Casablanca, and on the left we have it here. Except, of course, this isn't really Rick's Cafe, because the film was not made here and the cafe never existed.
Can you see it? Rick's Cafe.
The Hassan II Mosque is the largest in Africa and the 7th largest in the world. Our guide told us she's the first female tour guide in the country. The scale of the place is immense. It can accommodate up to 105,000 worshippers, 25,000 inside and 80,000 outside in these courtyards. The minaret stands at 210 metres, that's 689 feet, making it the tallest religious structure in the world. They provide a bag for your shoes when you go inside.
Okay, once the king is here, would enter by the main gate to go through the road area, straight ahead down there. It will be carpeted to reach the mihrab to pray.
The mosque is uniquely built on a promontory overlooking the Atlantic Ocean, and that's inspired by a Quranic verse stating that God's throne was built upon the water. Incredibly, they can open the roof. We were just lucky to arrive at a time when this was being done. The mosque is built on 3 levels. Below us is where the worshippers first come and wash their hands and feet before praying. Men and women are separated during prayer. The men are down here on this floor and up there are the women.
And below the cedar, you have the white with some chemical colors. You can.
For those who didn't mind some stairs, we were taken down below to see where everybody comes to wash. These are the bath houses, and they're on a grand scale. They're known as hammams, and they're split equally between men and women. Next on the agenda was a little bit of shopping. On the way there, we were told that because most people don't like haggling, that we were going to be taken to a shop where the prices would be fixed. The coach pulled up here and we were immediately guided to this shop.
To the left, you have leather jackets, leather bags, huskies for filling with some.
Now on every tour there's a refreshment stop, so we're very excited because ours is coming up next. It seemed like every coach in Morocco was coming to this place. This is the Church of the Sacred Heart, which is actually a Catholic cathedral. Next on the agenda, we were supposed to be seeing the King's Palace, but unfortunately we never got to see it because there was some sort of security event going on. We were taken through some of the back streets to see how people are living. I don't remember seeing any dogs, but there were lots of cats, and most of them looked to be in very poor condition. But outside every home, there seemed to be food and water for them.
Here, and the door would open to the right in front of the one.
Special day today, as it's our 40th wedding anniversary.
Happy anniversary breakfast.
Charlie Brown's got avocado on toast and poached egg, and I've gone for a more traditional breakfast.
Yeah, we're going to 2 talks this afternoon. So we've got the lady doing a talk on Charles Dickens, and then after that, an impressionist doing John Le Mesurier about his life.
I'm looking forward to that one.
It's fun.
No buffet for us today. All of our meals are in the more formal restaurant.
Thank you.
Now, as you would imagine, you're not allowed to film the entertainers, but I have to say the entertainment on the ship was absolutely fantastic. My absolute favourite presenter on the trip was Priscilla Morris.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for finding me at a different time.
That evening, we pushed the boat out and went to the Ocean Grill. Apologies, but we weren't really focusing on the filming, and I haven't got pictures of everything we had.
I really enjoyed that. Jolly tasty.
On the way to the show, we had to pass through the art gallery. We've bought pictures before on a cruise, so not this time. The ship has arrived in Tangiers. Breakfast in the buffet restaurant was generally okay, but we have to say the buffet was not our favourite place to eat. It was often very crowded and difficult to find a seat.
So Tangiers, they took us up to where the Atlantic meets the Mediterranean Sea.
The whole town on your right hand side, this is the Latina. Everything is modern, European style coffee shop, malls, supermarkets.
On our way to the first destination, we drove through some areas with some very expensive properties. This one used to belong to a king, but when he died, apparently it was abandoned and nobody has touched it since.
The end of it, called the Stretch of Gibraltar, is the end of the Mediterranean and the beginning of the Atlantic Ocean. So the position where they meet is where we are going to make our first stop. Sea is always darker green and the Atlantic Ocean is always darker blue.
Well, we couldn't tell any difference at all. To be honest, there wasn't a lot to see here, but we were in for a pleasant surprise.
Hello, pigs.
Now, Muslims don't eat pork, and because of that, the woods around here are full of wild pigs, and 3 of them decided to say hello.
Hello, pigs.
I wouldn't normally rush up to wild pigs, but I got the impression that they often got food from tourists and were quite tame. The driver was trying to shoo them away, but I really enjoyed seeing them.
They have very common sense of family. They live always into a big family, extended family system.
And then we went to the most exciting caves.
Yes, so a cave, Hercules caves. Yeah, which...
We didn't see him.
No. But then they explained that the Berbers, it was partly a natural cave, and then the Berbers came and they chiselled out the stone to make millstones. So you can see the shapes of the wheels on the wall, and then they obviously enlarged it by doing that. So it was part man-made, part natural.
Yeah.
And the bit that looked out to the sea, they reckon the Phoenicians had carved it into the shape of Africa, which was quite interesting.
I missed that bit.
Yeah.
Tangiers is the only place in Africa where you can see Europe. It's just 8 miles away across the Strait of Gibraltar. This was once a haven for spies, smugglers, artists and outcasts. The city was once a wedding gift to an English king.
Martinez was very uncomfortable. That's me.
Tangiers Medina is a labyrinth of narrow winding streets, so tight in places you can touch both sides with your elbows.
All the mosques. Number one man. Basha.
We went to the museum first of all, which you liked the garden up on the top.
Garden was very pretty.
Very pretty.
Very
garden
pretty.
up on the top.
Hardly anybody got to see that.
No, we didn't
that
have
was
much
the one time where we were allowed to sort of do your own
You
thing,
had about
wasn't
15 minutes free time to look around the whole museum.
Yeah.
So we made a beeline for the garden up on the top, which
Yeah.
is nice.
It was beautiful.
And then they had a lovely Roman mosaic tiled floor, which was lovely, and some old artefacts.
Yeah.
But we didn't really have that long there.
No.
Now, it would have been lovely to have had lunch in this restaurant, but instead we got the usual hard sell. And once again, we were told you couldn't haggle.
They don't buy if they don't know the price. But I'm not used to haggle to bargain. So with the Christian.
It's easy to see why artists love this place. The colour of the sky is magnificent. We went for a cup of tea, and this restaurant was an absolute maze, and the group all got split up.
Also, the rest is here.
I didn't wait to be told. I just saw some comfy seats and went for it. This couple turned out to be subscribers. Very nice to meet you, and we had a nice chat about the various van life channels they watch. Because everybody had been split up, there was quite a long wait to get the group back together after the tea. They wanted to be sure that they had everybody, so we all had to walk under the arch to be counted. Tangiers is a very busy harbour, and these high-powered catamarans were dashing backwards and forwards all day.
Okay, last place we went to then, El Ferrol.
Yeah, we decided we weren't going to do any of the coach tours because they just took you out of Ferrol, out to like some other towns nearby. So we just thought we'd just have a wander around Ferrol.
We were going to go and have lunch.
Yeah, we were looking forward to having a nice lunch, so as to save having to have lunch back on the ship.
It's just gone past 7 a.m. and we're sailing into the port of El Ferrol in Spain. This was the birthplace of General Franco, the dictator that ruled Spain from 1939 to 75. All of these people are waiting for the paid shuttle bus. I'm not sure if they actually know it's a very short walk into the town.
How much is it each?
£5 on the shuttle bus for a 5-minute drive just to over there.
Yeah.
This is the starting point for the Camino de Santiago. Traditionally, English and Irish pilgrims arrive by sea at Ferrol, making their pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela. We'd never been here before, so we're going to find our way through the back streets to the town centre. This is the Magdalena neighbourhood, which forms the historic and architectural core of the city. This area was designed in the 18th century by naval engineers, and it features a unique grid layout with 6 parallel streets intersected by 9 cross streets.
So basically in the age of enlightenment, this became a big arsenal and a military dockyard, the largest in northwest Spain.
In 1800, the British had a go at trying to seize Ferrol, but local defenders, including volunteers, managed to repel the attack. We found one of the main streets, and Charlie Brown fancies a coffee. I think one with a bit of sun would be nice. I certainly wouldn't say this town is aimed at tourists. I don't think they get many cruise ships calling. This statue is a Nazareno, the participant in Spain's famous Holy Week. The pointed hood is known as a capirote, and it's worn by members of the Catholic Brotherhood. This imposing building is the City Hall, built in 1953. She's checking her facts and on the lookout for coffee. Well, unfortunately it's not in the sun, but it is busy and that's always a good sign. That was cheap cafe, €4.10 for 2 coffees.
Including tax and everything else.
I did a search but I couldn't find any information on this. So this is where the shuttle drops you off if you're interested. Well, to be honest, there wasn't a great deal to see in that port, and several other people said the same. So very quickly we went back on board, had some lunch, and now we're sailing away, and it's the end of our trip. On the final night, all the staff come out and say goodbye. You get to know your servers quite well over 18 nights, and they've been working very, very hard. So the big question is, would I go on another cruise? Well, the answer is yes, I would, but I'm certainly not cut out for cruising, so I'd only go on a short one. But if Carol wants to have a cruise, I'll go with her to keep her happy. So tell me, would you go on another cruise with me?
Only if you'd chosen it.
Yeah, I'm not cut out for cruising.
No.
But you would like to go on another one?
Oh yeah, it suits me down to the ground because everything's taken care of, got all your food, takes you to places, you get to see new things, and if it's got sunny weather, all the better.
And did you enjoy this one?
I did.
Good. Anyway, all that remains is to say thanks for watching.
And if you enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up, share us with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already done so.
Now, we're going to be taking a bit of a break from filming, and we don't quite know when we're coming back, but we are coming back, and you'll be the first to know, provided you hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.